News for people who can't stand the news. You know, I think it just sounds so fantastic and so wonderful and so groundbreaking and so what we need. But with all due respect, considering our system structure, what do you say to people who believe, they say, well, Jill, it sounds great, but is this a vote for Jill? Would that be a vote for Donald Trump?
Well, let me tell you, do you know Mark Lamontville?
Yes, I do.
He's a,
yes.
Yeah, pretty
Correspondent
amazing guy.
Yes, he
Right.
is. Pretty smart guy.
He's amazing guy. And so he's been telling the story on Democracy Now! These last few days, really, speaking for where the Black Lives Matter movement is going, and just the horrific developments of the past week, commenting on them in a really beautiful and uplifting way. Well, he is one of our supporters, and he has been for a long time. And he's a journalist, and most journalists don't commit themselves to campaigns.
Right.
And I asked him why he did that. I asked him why, Mark, and he said, well, because we're in a crisis, and this is an emergency, and your campaign is doing exactly what we need to do when there are no other options. And I said, well, what do you say to African Americans who are, by history loyal to the Democratic Party and have been voting Democratic for pragmatic reasons because it's less of a catastrophe than Donald Trump? What do you say to them? And what Mark said to me was, what really matters here is that we build our power. That's what counts. And that's how we will prevail, by building our power. Sometimes you have to step back in an election and not have a winning election. That's okay if you're building your power. And I said, wow, that is a really powerful thing to say. And I think he put it, in a nutshell. If we are going to get out of this trap, we can't keep digging ourselves in deeper. We need a political party from which we can grow. Because, and let me also challenge the idea that there's no way here except to lose. In fact, we're talked into powerlessness all the time. In the words of Alice Walker, the biggest way people give up power is by not knowing we have it to start with. But in fact, we have 43 million young people and not so young people who are trapped in student loan debt with no way to get out in the economy that we have. Now, it just so happens I'm the only candidate who will cancel the debt for the students like we did for the crooks on Wall Street.
Right.
If we cancel their debt, well, how about we bail out their victims, And it turns out 43 million is enough to win the election. So just by getting that word out, that people who are in debt can come out and cancel their vote, well, guess what? We could actually make that a reality, because that's a huge incentive to come out and spend a couple hours voting. Even if you spend a whole day voting, and you get yourself out of $50,000 or $80,000 worth of debt, it's so worth it. And society needs this. This isn't just about doing a favor to young people who have debt. Society doesn't move forward unless we have a younger generation that's leading the way. And right now, that generation has two hands tied behind its back, and they're working 2 and 3 part-time jobs just to keep a roof over their head. And the birth rate has plummeted, and they don't have a life. They don't have a place to live. They don't have a job. They don't have a family. They don't have a future. Right. So they don't have a future. Our society doesn't have a future. We all need to bail them out, because they lead us forward not only on the economy, they lead us forward on social justice, on Black Lives Matter, on climate justice, on ending the wars, on doing all those things that we need to do in the social movement. It is always the younger generation that leads us forward. So this is good for all of us. And by getting the word out that we can cancel debt just by mobilizing young people to come out and vote for themselves, we could turn this election on its head. And the underdog, that is us, we could become the top dog. We don't have to split the vote. We can flip the vote. Forget split the vote. We can flip the vote.
I love it.
And we need to think of ourselves with the power that we can actually